sakambuka mama singa oh.
Wenda sakambuka mama na singa oh.
Nombele sakambuka mama singa oh.
Wenda sakambuka mama na singa oh.
Sakambuka
saka
sakambuka
saka
sakambuka
saka
sakambuka
saka sakambuka
saka
saka sakambuka saka sakambuka saka sakambuka
Olipa anambocho ndio chacho mumukwe chamwa boshingu ngongwo nyumbu ho ayanga bigifa no ngongwo abondu obro mame ngendo wekeku amo yawe nui ntwamwo ngo tangya no nti bia go tangya ngoncho ngongwo nja abinike kunu kwe ungan kan tie.
Love one another wherever you may be all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Different people. We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land.
So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Ngokentuja.
Alright, so it's another day for Ambazonians to come together and draft. It's another day when all Ambazonians will sit at the comfort of their homes, but yet coming together in spirit to do what they know how to do best. While we are here trying as much as possible to bring up to date with happenings across Ambazonia as well as across the world. Is another It's another beautiful Saturday here. Beautiful Saturday for Ngokentuja. But not just Ngokentuja, it's another Saturday when all Ambazonians will come together to draft, and draft. Oh, well, like you all know, when we come together every Saturday, we'll start with analysis, not just analysis from the home front, but analysis across the world. And it's an amazing thing because today on this week on Ambazonia, we have, a new guest who I'm not sure he has joined us this week on Ambazonia before, but yeah, he'll be joining today, and it's going to be really, really fun. Of course, I'm not Mr. Tara Paddy King, but for the meantime, I will try to do what he does best. I am Uyi Opmala. All right, let's get to find our in-house analyst for today. We have Barrister Fru in the house. Barrister Fru, welcome to This Week on Undaunted. This Week on Ambazonia, I beg your pardon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for another Saturday. We are here to talk to our people and plot the way forward.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Fru. We also have Barrister Mbeseha, who stays with us throughout the week and makes out time to be with us here too on Saturday. Barrister Mbeseha, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you for having us once more. I come on again this day because it went along, but we are here to give up.
Sincerest apologies that you had to lie and wait. Well, you had to lie down and wait for us to come. We apologize. Hopefully next week we wouldn't keep you waiting. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha, for coming on the show regardless. And joining us for the first time in a long time is a true son of Ngokentuja. Of course, you can see him gallantly dressed in the toga today. Talking about Dr. Martin Mungwa, who is also Ambazonian spokesperson and director of the communications and IT department. Barrister Dr. Martin Mungwa, nice to have you here. I'm almost calling you a barrister tonight.
Thank you, Onye. It's a pleasure to be back on screen. I know that some have thought that I was sort of missing or something happened to me. Maybe I was too old to appear on television, but here I am. I think I'm here ready to participate and to let everybody know that I'm not a 68-year-old. I'm still in my early 60s, and I hope when I get to 68, I'm going to invite all those friends that we can have maybe a cross country before drinking some palm wine. But here I am this afternoon, and obviously it's a privilege for me to be with the two barristers. Those who will be supporting us all throughout this journey. Barristers John Fru and Timothy Mbeseha. I always listen to both of you, and it's always an inspiration to me, and it actually helps me in some of my political and professional discussions. So I think one more occasion to thank both of you, and of course, Onye, we know you, and you've been one of our great fighters, at least working on ABC. So thank you. I'm glad to be back.
All right, thank you so much. It's amazing hearing the word fighter from you. But regardless, do not pay any attention to those thinking you're not a young man. I mean, you look very young in the toga there, and also wearing the toga today from the ABC studio here is, of course, Tabitha. Tabitha will be pairing the toga with you today, and she's coming to give us some briefings from across the globe. So let's just have her come back, then we'll come back and we'll do all of the analysis from there.
Love one another wherever you may be, all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land. Together we will stand. Together we will stand. United we will fall. United we will stand.
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Ngokentuja.
Love one another wherever you may be, all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land. Together we will stand. Together we will stand. United we will fall. United we will stand.
Mama singaye, oh.
When the Sakamuka, Mama Singaye.
Nombeleza kambuka mama singaye oh.
Wena sakamuka mama na singaye oh.
Nombeleza kambuka mama singaye oh.
Wena sakamuka mama na singaye oh.
Sakambuka
Saka
sakambuka
Saka
sakambuka
Saka
sakaye
Sakamuka Sakaye Sakamuka
saka
Sakaye Sakamuka Sakaye Sakamuka Sakaye Sakamuka
Olipa Anambo chundu Ndachumu mungwe Chamwa Washingu ngongwo Nyumbu fo Ayanga bigi fa ngongwo Abondu obro mama ni ndo Wekeku Amo lwa nui Ntwamu ngutangya no Nti bia gutangya Ngoncha bongo ngoncha afinike kunu kwe ungana kaitien Ndwa mo pebe no go Tore me shengulu be mola Dincha mola no Ah Ndabota no Tutwanga na angu mola ndi ngapo bene Anu ntoncha mola na Ndi la abu yukie Fanu ala abu Anu ntoncha Iba naki abe shimbu Anu ntoninda Njara ato shiko mu Chamwa no na munjo Ana mo yongo kwa komu mpo Da ntonjo hane Paying for problem Awe Ano ipo yang sipo Ayansi
Mayeye
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 Why is one of Europe's strongest powers breaking ranks to recognize Palestine alone? As diplomatic alliances waver and the Middle East teeters over deeper instability, France's bold decision has ignited a global debate. Is President Macron reshaping peace diplomacy? Is he being pressured? And why is he even isolating himself in the process? Well, as we delve into the details, these and many more will be explored in today's Flash News. Good evening and welcome. I am Tabitha Ako. Let's begin. French President Emmanuel Macron's decision to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state this September has triggered a wave of diplomatic tension, laying bare the divisions among Western powers and also drawing sharp rebukes from Israel, the United States, and several European allies. Macron is poised to make France the first permanent Western member of the United Nations Security Council to formally extend recognition to Palestine. The move follows months of private diplomacy and rising pressure over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Macron's first visit in April to Al Arish near Egypt's border with Gaza proved a turning point. Confronted with dire conditions, he reportedly resolved to shift France's policy stance. However, we see that the decision has not found unified support among France's allies. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni voiced concerns that unilateral recognition before a viable Palestinian state is fully constituted may undermine the peace process. Speaking to La Repubblica, Meloni reiterated support for a two-state solution but warned that symbolic acts could delay rather than advance genuine negotiations. Its foreign minister also reinforced this, stating that recognition must be contingent on reciprocal recognition of Israel. Now we see that the Italian president stands on these issues over there in France. And as the coming days, we will definitely get probably more reports on these issues. A lot of countries have given their remarks on this. Many have accepted it and others have refused to support this recognition by France. But then what is Germany saying? Germany has also held back. A government spokesperson confirmed Berlin does not plan to follow France's lead, citing the need for substantive progress toward a negotiated settlement before recognition becomes meaningful. Macron's plan originally involved coordinating recognition efforts with Saudi Arabia and G7 allies such as the UK and Canada. But according to diplomats, these efforts stalled due to fears that such a move would damage ties with Washington. Left isolated, Macron opted to proceed alone. French officials say the recognition will be formalized during the United Nations General Assembly in September, following a ministerial-level peace conference expected next week. Now, the United States has also expressed deep reservations. Although President Joe Biden's administration supports a two-state solution in principle, it opposes unilateral recognition at this stage. But then, the United States President Donald Trump went further, denouncing the move as a betrayal of Israel. Trump, who had brokered the Abraham Accords and shifted the United States policy sharply pro-Israel during his term, warned that recognizing Palestine while Hamas remains a powerful actor rewards terrorism and weakens peace. Let's take a listen.
Well, he made a statement, France, Macron. His statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy, I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight.
The backlash has also emerged from Israel. Officials in Jerusalem warned of consequences for France's diplomatic and security cooperation in the region. Tensions heightened after Israel's parliament passed a non-binding resolution urging the government to apply Israeli law to the occupied West Bank, a move widely interpreted as a step toward annexation. Now we see that domestically, Macron is under pressure from opposing sides. But why is he even pressured? Human rights advocates demand stronger action to this situation. And on the other hand, we see that while pro-Israel groups argue that recognition without guarantees emboldens extremist factions. That's their take right there. But then France's large Muslim and Jewish populations make the issue particularly sensitive. Analysts also suggest Macron's move may be part of a broader strategy to pressure the Palestinian Authority into internal reform and to encourage regional Arab powers to facilitate disarmament and reconstruction in Gaza. Yet, others argue that without meaningful political change, France's recognition will remain symbolic and possibly destabilizing. While Macron positions France as a bold actor willing to challenge diplomatic inertia, Meloni and other European leaders remain cautious, preferring gradual, consensus-driven diplomacy. Now, as the conflict grains on, the growing rift among Western allies reveals a deepening uncertainty over how to restore momentum toward peace and whether unilateral gestures help or hinder that goal. Well, there's a recent development right there. But then moving over to Africa, in an African development, we see that a military court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has opened the trial of former President Joseph Kabila, who is facing charges of treason and other serious crimes linked to alleged support for the M23 rebel group. The hearing began in Kinshasa's Gombe district, but Kabila was absent as he is currently outside the country. He's been tried in absentia. Now, the charges include murder, torture, rape, and conspiring to overthrow the government. Authorities claim Kabila supported the M23 rebels, who have taken control of vast areas in eastern DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Kabila has also previously denied any affiliation with the group. Kabila governed the DRC for 18 years before stepping down in 2019, handing power to President Felix Tshisekedi. However, their political alliance collapsed in 2020 after Tshisekedi ended their power-sharing agreement, prompting Kabila to relocate to South Africa. Now, in May 2025, Kabila returned to the Democratic Republic of Congo and visited cities under M23 control, a move that triggered outrage among officials. Shortly afterward, his immunity as a life senator was lifted, clearing the way for his prosecution. The case has attracted nationwide attention, with many closely following how the proceedings will unfold. The trial has been adjourned until July 31. As the story keeps developing, we'll definitely bring you up to speed with that. Now, still in Africa, hundreds of Tunisians gathered in the capital on Friday to protest President Kais Said's continued grip on power, marking the 4th anniversary of his 2021 political takeover. The date, once observed as Republic Day, now evokes bitter memories for many. On July 25, 2021, Said suspended parliament, dismissed the prime minister, and assumed sweeping powers under a state of emergency moves critics have long denounced as the start of authoritarian rule in a country once hailed as a beacon of the Arab Spring. Protesters in Tunis chanted slogans demanding political freedom and accountability. Many held banners and posters featuring detained opposition leaders, including Rachid Ghannouchi, head of the Ennahda party, and other prominent political figures such as Abir Morsi and Sonia Dhamani. Let's take a look. Protesters are raising a cry. What began as a promise of reform has become, for many Tunisians, a return to repression, said Samir Dilo, a key figure in the opposition National Salvation Front. Also, Saida Akremi, the wife of jailed opposition lawyer and former Justice Minister Nouruddin Bihri, described the anniversary as a betrayal of the Republic's founding values, demanding freedom for political prisoners, lawyers, judges, and all citizens unjustly jailed. Let's take a listen.
This day is a coup against the constitution and state institutions, against everything the Tunisian people have built. I'm here to demand freedom for political prisoners, freedom for all detainees, lawyers, judges, and honorable citizens filling our prisons.
Since 2021, Syed has dissolved judicial institutions, removed judges, and ordered the arrest of political opponents, lawyers, and journalists under broad anti-terror and conspiracy laws. Amnesty International in a June report warned of an escalating crackdown on dissent and the use of vague legal grounds to silence critics and marginalized groups. And women also featured prominently in the protests, leading chants and calling for the release of female political detainees. The demonstrations come amid worsening economic conditions and growing public disillusionment as Tunisians grapple with inflation, unemployment, and eroding civil liberties. Over the weeks, we have been given reports about protests, but then we hope that this comes to a halt very soon. Now, this is where I'll be handing it over to Onyi Okpala.
Love one another, wherever you may be, all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
Different people. We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land.
So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Ngokentuja.
Olipa, anambochundu, jachumu mungwe, chamwa, washingu bongo. I have a given no congo. I want to over my men can do. I'm a revenue. Ngokentuja. Going to be a good tangia. One chop on one job in a Cameroun and Kaitian. No more people will go. To the mayor Shanku and Bimola. Didn't you Mola? No. Ah, that what I know. Twang and Uncle Molanding up a night. I don't touch a Molana. Deal up you get. Fenwal up. I don't touch you, you are not having him. I don't do any of that. Jara just go move. Someone on a moon, yo. I don't know what you're coming on board.
This is Make Year 2018 edition.
Wondering, oh, why all of that masquerade and display there? Do not wonder any further. These are some of the dances, some of the rituals that are done in a typical Ngokentuja festival. Of course, you can see, I do not want to call them juju. These are just, patterns in a culture. They are traditional values. And if we have all the time, I'm sure that Dr. Mungwa would probably explain a few things that are going on there, but we do not have that time. But for all you know, or for all we know here, these are a few of the festivals that goes on in Ngokentuja. Now look at all of the rich culture. All of these can be a side attraction. All of these can pull tourists across the world to understand how some of them breathe in some of the things that they wear and all of that, how they would go around with chucks and all of these are things that tourists are interested in. But the question is, will tourists, or can this give the great side attraction it needs to give with all of the war, all of the tension, all of the security challenges that Ambazonia in general, Ngokentuja is not even left out of it, is going through. Now look at that. These are things that people go across other climes like in India, in China, to pay huge amounts of money just to be part of. But you can see only those from Ngokentuja are only the ones enjoying this to the fullest. Those that know so much about culture will definitely tell you a lot is going on there. But we'll just leave that aside. Just all of this is for the love of culture and the love of tradition as well. All right, so we've seen news from across the globe. We've seen all that has been happening. But during drought days as this, we do not have so much time. But before we get into some of the happenings from the home front, which is our basic focus for tonight, Dr. Mungo, I do not want to say everything as if I'm from Ngokentuja. I mean, I'm Mamfe, but a little of things about Ngokentuja excites me. I know you guys have a proper drafting system, but we're not getting into that. The videos about the festival in Ngokentuja that we've just seen, would you want to say a thing or two to add up to what I have said, just to solidify the beauty of culture addition that the people of Ngokentuja have?
Yeah, thank you, Onye. I think it's a great occasion to talk about Ngokentuja. It's not just about the culture, it's also about the geography. Ngokentuja, because of its geography and the richness of its soil, I think has brought in a lot of people from around Ambazonia and beyond. And you realize that that confluence of many people has also influenced even the traditions, even the dances. And you realize that some of the dances are actually the same wherever you go in the so-called the grassland area. Some are, cultural ritual, and depending on what part of the society you come from, you have those that are related to the royal lineage, and those that are related to the non-royal lineage. And each of them, they have their customs, and they have some ceremonies and even initiation rites into these cultural call it groupings. And especially in the case of my own village, which is Bambalang, they actually have some yearly cultural festival where they actually send out invitations to people outside Ngokentuja or even within the entire Ambazonia. So people actually come in for that particular festival where the show and their colors and the different dances and so on and so forth. It's actually a great moment where people look back into history, since most of our history is actually oral. And it's a great way to understand how the history came about and where people actually migrated from. In Ngokentuja itself, you have more than 13 villages, I think, and there's some relationship among them. Some of these villages were actually created as a result of maybe part of the chieftaincy moving over because of some local dispute. And you realize that in terms of the language, they are very, very similar. In my case, if you go to Bafanji, for instance, when people from Bafanji speak, I just understand. I was very, very surprised when I learned that somebody from Bafanji spoke and was actually speaking my own dialect. So I asked them, how do you come about? We're not the same village. And then I understood that historically they actually split for one reason or the other. So a lot of those who are actually in Ngokentuja, they are very, very related. And in fact, from a legal perspective or law, in the during the British colonial days, whenever there was a problem and something happened in one of the villages, and that person who was maybe indicted or something of that nature, if he went to a different village, they'll simply go to the palace and that case will resume and it will be settled in that palace, and whatever solution that they propose will be accepted in wherever that person goes. So it's an interesting culture. They are all very similar, very slight differences, and in fact, even in terms of the activities in Ngokentuja, mainly agrarian. They do farming, a lot of farming. We have fishing, of course, the principal occupations there, but you also have rice farming, and you have corn and vegetables and so on. This is something very important because Dr. Sako's government actually has a what we call a green project for Ngokentuja. We have a great policy for Ngokentuja where we are going to increase productivity of maize, which I also talked about in the speech, which I'm going to give later today. Even we are going to increase in solar energy, and we are going to create storage facilities for whatever agricultural activities that take place in Ngokentuja. This is a great project that the government of Ngokentuja has put some very, very good brains on, and we already have the scope of work and preliminary cost, how much it's going to cost, and it's going to improve or multiply food production in Ngokentuja by between 3 to 5 times what they have today, which means that Ngokentuja will eventually become a bread basket, not only in Ambazonia, but beyond Ambazonia. And we are going to twin it with Oyumejok because it has a similar climate, and we are going to increase agricultural production in these two areas because of the climate similarity. So this is a great project that we are not joking about it. And in addition to that, we also have womb. Womb is another area where we are going to increase electrical production. So these are all projects that in the pipeline, and I think I did mention sometime in the past, probably through a press release or some other medium, about the resettlement strategy that we have. So we are not only here to talk about politics, because it's so easy that you can sit here and talk about what somebody is saying doesn't make sense or kick against each other. We cannot succeed like that. This is a government. Dr. Sako's government is for action. It's not just for repudiating what others are doing. It's not to make others feel that they probably do not have the right, grammatical strength to talk. No, we are in action, and we have projects that we have already put into place that the government has already looked into, and we have dollar numbers against them. Okay, the project management office, which is attached to the presidency, has already have project that we are going to execute. So we hit the ground running. So we have opportunities for job creation, because that's the only solution that we are going to have to make sure that we prove to the people that we're there to deliver. And that's why I'm here today, and I hope I've answered your request. Maybe I've gone beyond the boundaries, but there you go. I'm here to talk. Over to you.
Beyond the Dr. Mungwa, you may have gone beyond the boundary, like you have stated, but the beautiful thing is that you are able to communicate effectively and intertwine the benefit of all of this, especially letting them know that the government led by Dr. Sako has huge plans for everyone and Ngokentuja people at large. All right, let's head over to our first report from the home front for tonight. Let's get to some of these basic amenities that keeps the people alive, that keeps what the people can say the body, soul, and mind together. These things are lacking. Let's start with the first story. So after 2 months since its launch, the Bamenda gas plant, inaugurated on the 9th of May by colonial authorities, remains non-operational. Residents continue to pay 8,500 francs CFA for a 12.5 kg cooking gas cylinder, contrary to the promises of a drop in prices. Wholesalers are forced to transport gas from neighboring La Republic to Cameroon's west region. Now, this project, which was marked by heavy militarization during its launch, has proven to be yet another political move, which has not only made a mockery of the Midland Zone, but has put to waste the hard-earned Ambazonian taxpayers' money, which was used in sponsoring the logistics for the what we can tag as unfruitful event. So the Bamenda gas plant opened on the 9th of May 2025. It does not operate today. This defies promises of lower gas prices, as well as promises of job creation made by representatives of the colonial government. The population was fooled that a 12.5 kg domestic gas cylinder would cost 6,500 francs CFA. 2 months after being told these lies, residents still pay 8,500 francs CFA for a cylinder. Wholesalers continue gas sourcing from La Republic to Cameroon's west region, which they themselves sell in the Midland Zone as alternative, which keeps gas prices high. Burdening the residents, sources report that the plant's operational delay is as a result of centralization of government. It comes from incomplete paperwork, as documents allegedly remain pending in Yaoundé, La Republic de Cameroon's colonial city capital. During the inauguration, the site saw heavy colonial military presence. Security forces were everywhere. Logistical operations and preparations to receive these government officials were extensive. Critics are calling out those responsible over the operation cost, which was sponsored mainly through Ambazonian taxpayers' money. They have called the expenses a waste, which have yielded no functional plans, given no benefit to citizens, but rather it has served as a political display. Indeed, the inauguration was a move for political gain. This has turned out to be another potential abandoned project. While the inactivity persists, the community is left in the dark on when it could expect lower gas prices and can only dream of when the promised jobs will materialize. If we are not screaming of bad roads, if the bad roads are not attacking or killing Ambazonians are trying to deal with power. If they are not struggling with power, they are struggling with security challenges. If they are done struggling with security challenges at a time, then they get into home domestic challenges. How can we explain in this time and climate that the people who are endangered with a war may not be able to afford how they can make their own meals or what they can make their own meals with? It's already expensive for them to be able to buy goods and services from the market. A few days ago, we did an expose on how prices of foodstuffs, rice and the rest of them has gone high. So the moment Ambazonians try to be able to capture and be like, okay, we can manage with the high cost of living, they may not be able to have the resources to even prepare the meals that they've gotten. Barrister Fru, let's start with you. This is just one part of the challenges that we do not bring to the fore every time. But on a regular basis, we do tell how either prices of fuel, high cost of living has gone extremely high. Today, we are taking a focus at just the cooking gas. To fill a 12 kg cylinder, one has to use almost all day in to make that possible. How does this make you feel?
Onye, I don't believe in anything that La République du Cameroun does in the southern Cameroon. I don't. They know they have abandoned the southern Cameroon. They know that we are gone, and they are not about to put one penny in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. All that gimmick, all that moving of people to Bamenda for a gas production unit was all political gimmick. It has nothing. It is not going. There's not going to be any gas production in Ambazonia by La République du Cameroun. They are gradually taking away everything that we own. They are gradually taking away anything that they had initiated in our territory. And they are not ashamed of it. They lie. They make all kinds of, they come and make some sweet speeches like Diongote. He came to Bamenda and said they are going to rehabilitate Sonora. No, it's not up to a month. They sent a representative to inaugurate the new refinery in Kribi. They are going to abandon the wreckage of Sonora in Victoria, just like they pretended to produce gas in Bamenda. All that is gimmick, all that is rubbish. They will never put a penny in our territory going forward. They know. They know that we are gone. Our problem now is to secure our territory and start the process of nation building. We are very lucky. We are very lucky because most of Ambazonia is fertile. Look, prices have gone up, yes, but because we have not created a corridor for Nigeria, for goods and services to come from Nigeria. With the Naira, from the Naira to CFA, it will be by far cheaper. But because of the war, because of the constant fighting, we are unable to create a corridor to link Nigeria and Ambazonia so that we don't have to depend on Douala and Yaoundé for supplies. They carry the goods in Douala and multiply the prices. By the time they get to Boya and Bamenda and Doap and inside Ambazonia, they have tripled the prices. And our people are going through hell. That is why we must die trying to gain control of our territory. That's why Ngokentuja's draft today is so important. Ngokentuja is one of the most active and very, very important county in Ambazonia. I'm not saying all the counties are not important, but Ngokentuja has been, from the beginning of this struggle and up to today, you can count Bui, Ngokentuja, Manu, Indian, Fako. They are holding the ground. There are some places that, you know, we're not going to fight war everywhere. It's not a question of fighting war everywhere. But let's face it. Anything that La Republic promises to do in Ambazonia is a farce. They will never. Look at the roads. Look at even the road that is supposed to link La Republic and Bamenda. For how many years now we have been talking about the road from Bonda to Bamenda? It will not happen. It's not happening. But John Gote will carry himself to Bamenda and tell lies, carry himself to Boya and tell lies. Today he's unable to explain how Sonora left, how the refinery now is being built in Kribi. The laying of the foundation stone was done in Kribi, and John Gote doesn't seem to know that that's what happened, because he was not invited, and he's pretending not to know, but it is a fact. And he's running to Douala to go and lay a foundation stone for the development of the port in Bonaberi. But this is I don't know why we spend time talking about it. We have a job at hand, and that job needs money. We have to draft, and we die drafting. Today we must give Ngokentuja the resources they need. The resources they need to defend themselves, because a single man called Anderson got a woman and her children arrested, and he's still keeping the children and woman in detention up to as we speak. The wife of one of our fighters, and also the old parents of the man. What they need resources to fight to get Anderson out of their territory. So we need to draft. If there's anything that we need to do today that will make a difference between saving lives in Ngokentuja, this is this draft. I don't care the obnoxious audios being made by Elad, who has never been able to draft even one penny in Kupe Mananguba. What right has he to talk about Ngokentuja? We will draft Ngokentuja today and let heaven and earth come down. We will draft so that
I agree with you. I agree with you, Barrister Fru. That's why we are here. We'll draft. So we need to have be done with this report from the home front. Then we get into the draft proper. You know. So I want us to just focus on the reports that we have at hand, so that when we get into the draft proper, we'll talk about it and ensure that all Ambazonians come out tonight to draft Ngokentuja. So let's get to you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Let me finish by saying that we don't need La Republic. Let them all that they are political gimmick that they come that they are producing. They want to produce gas production unit so that the gas can be cheaper. It's neither here nor there. They will never do it because they know we are gone. We are no longer part of them.
That explains why the prices are on the high side, because they know that Ambazonians are not part of them. That explains why they need to stretch Ambazonians a little bit more. Barrister Mbeseha, do you agree with Barrister Fru that because Ambazonians are pulling away or have pulled away from La Republic to Cameroun, these can account to the reason why we have severe serious hike in food prices? not just food prices, even with cooking gas, on how to, even get the food ready in the first place. When you stay with us every weekday, when we talk about some of the challenges Ambazonians are going through due to the senseless war caused by our republic to Cameroon, you understand the pain, because you see this report on a regular basis. This is the gasoline. I remember when we gave a report on the inauguration and commissioning and all of this, but here you have it. They are not getting it even cheaper, in any way cheaper than they were promised. Promise and fail, promise and fail. That's what Ambazonians see every time. What would you say?
Well, your question was whether I agree with Barrister Fru Nsoh. My answer is yes, I do agree with him, 150%. And if you permit me, I will add 50% so that we'll go up to 200%. Now we're talking about gas, cooking gas. That's a simple way to put it back home. Cooking gas. That is more expensive. But why are we talking about it? Cooking gas has never been a problem in Nigeria. Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Cooking gas has never been a problem in Ambazonia. It is not even a problem in Cameroon. Why is it being debated right now? We're debating it because someone from Yaoundé mysteriously made it an issue by claiming that they were trying to put a plant somewhere in Bamenda that will produce cooking gas. But that was a month after they did the same thing in Kumba. They inaugurated a cooking gas plant in Kumba. That's all in Ambazonia. And I had the question, the time to ask here some weeks ago. Why did they not inaugurate one in Bafusam, in Kribi, in Garwa? Is it only Ambazonians, Anglophones they call them, who use gas to cook? Certainly not. It's a political ploy. It's a political deceit. How many women cooking, when we talk about cooking, we refer to women. How many women in Ambazonia use cooking gas? In general, 80-90% of the women in Ambazonia don't use gas. Women in Equia, India, Hindu, they don't use cooking gas. They use firewood. Which firewood they carry on their head. The best thing that they would need is to get a where they can carry that wood on it. But they don't even have that truck. They don't have a path through which you can push, which is about the roads. And you find somebody telling you that they're coming to put a cooking gas plant. It's all a political ploy. And I've said this before. Everything they say now must be looked at in the context of the war, one, in the context of the elections that are coming up in the next 60, 70 days. And so they are just deceiving people. Cooking gas is not our problem, I've said. That should not be even anywhere for us to debate. But even if it is for a debate, it is now established that the whole idea of cooking gas plants, be it in Kumba, what they call Southwest, or in Bamenda, what they call Northwest, they are all lies because none of them is functional. One, because they never intended it to be functional. They never ever intended to do anything like that. But they intended to buy the vote, most importantly, of the women who suffer with firewood and coke. But their lives have been laid bare. Their lives have been laid bare. And to add to a litany of lies, as Mr. Nsoh has said, as we speak here today, there was a meeting in Boya, chaired by who? Chaired by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was chairing a meeting how to organize the voting of the president. And curious enough, the Prime Minister did not even mention again the lie he told us 2 weeks ago. That's another, there was nothing going to go to Caribbean. It was a big lie. That was impossible. He wouldn't mention that because he himself had been caught in his lying. But the bigger problem is not that he's lying. The bigger problem is that our own sons and daughters, our own parents, mothers and fathers, don't see this lie as we see it. They cover it, they pretend not to see, And then they think everything is normal. No, there's normal. They are just lying. Our own brothers who are aiding in these fabrications should be told enough is enough. That said, let me just revisit Ngokentuja based on what Dr. Mungo said. Just a few lines there. We should remind from what Dr. Mungo said. Ngokentuja is a variety of people. There are many there, different ethnic groups, people with different opinions and different views. That is a fact. It's a plurality of a society. And when we say we are drafting for Ngokentuja as Ambazonians, coming from across the land, we do so in solidarity with our people. Because Ambazonia is Ambazonia. Ngokentuja is part of Ambazonia. They will not complete Ambazonia without Ngokentuja. And so we do that in solidarity with them. And then let me remind others, and I think Dr. Tango in his own ways. Ngokentuja is not the property of a few angry people. It's not the property of a few angry natives wherever they find it.
Barrister Mbeseha, I wanted us to, have a special time to talk about just Ngokentuja. I wanted us, to exhaust all of the, reports from the home front. Then we now have our time and talk about Ngokentuja. So let's just leave Ngokentuja out. We'll come back and have enough time to talk about that. Dr. Mungwa, the issue on the gas, would you want to say something before we get to our next report and get fully into Ngokentuja proper?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the barristers actually laid bare the lie behind the gas project. We've understood over a very short period of time that Diangute is just a messenger of lies. I don't know whether the guy has any self-esteem or not, but for somebody who knows exactly what the truth is, and he's been sent as a boogeyman to go and tell all these lies around, and he goes there with a straight face and he tells all these lies. I begin to wonder, this is somebody who I met when I was still teaching at the university back home. And what really intrigued me when I met him was that he was full of self-pity. I remember sitting with him in a room after we've reviewed some documents for promotion, and suddenly he just started saying, "Oh, we Anglophones, they just marginalize us, they never respect us." I looked at this man. I said, "Are you not the director of the so-called ENAM, and you're making such statement?" He gave me a very cold feedback when I heard him complaining. So now, in retrospect, when you hear him behaving this way, you know that is somebody who has no opinion of himself or of anything. All he has to do is to listen to his dad, who is Bia, and whatever they ask him to do, he goes and does it. He has no opinion of his own, none whatsoever. So even this thing about take the Sonora has been abandoned, and it's a grave industrial hazard in Victoria. I just wrote a paper about it with one of our top engineers in England about the industrial hazards that have been abandoned, and people will be sick of cancer, leukemia, and all sorts of diseases. This is tragic. And we call upon La Republic government to clean up the environmental mess that they've left in Limbe. I'm making this very, very clear because it's going to become an international problem with La Republic du Cameroun for abandoning asbestos-infested, contaminated soil, contaminated water. They've just abandoned it and gone somewhere else. We are aware of it. So sorry again, I got off topic because this man called Ngokentuja, I don't know whether this guy is a zombie or he's a human being. I have no clue whatsoever, but he's such an embarrassment to that position.
Yep.
All right. Of course. Now, heading to a report that scared and surprised most of us during the week, Barrister Mbeseha was shocked, and we felt that we should bring it in this, in this today's broadcast. So after enduring 5 months in captivity, one would have thought that the Dabacho Colonial Divisional Officer Ewane Roland would resign immediately after his release, especially as his freedom was considered a miracle. Shockingly, he has been reassigned to Nguamo in La Republique du Cameroun Central Region. Now, this transfer occurring as the colonial nations approaches its presidential election is a confirmed calculated move by the ruling party, but still, Ewani Roland, who chose to side with strangers over his brothers, has been positioned in an interior village. The colonial government has reminded him of the place of Ambazonians, meddling with them. They belong to the bush. Ewani Roland, who served as the colonial divisional officer for Idabacho, was abducted on the 1st of October 2024. He was taken along with a staff member of the Idabacho Council in the Indian Atlantic Zone, an area within the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The Yaoundé administration maintained that pirates operating from neighboring Nigeria carried out the abduction. However, on the 14th of October 2024, a group identified as Dragon Fighter Marine publicly claimed responsibility for the kidnapping via a social media post. During his captivity, the severity of his situation became apparent. Reports and brief footage indicated the harsh condition he faced, showing him pleading for assistance to secure a ransom. Would want the technicians to also play that clip just for others to see. But in response to the abduction, Bernard Okalai Bilai, the governor of the Southwest, issued a 72-hour period for the release of the official and the council staff. He also suspended social and economic activities in Idabacho following a meeting to address the situation. Bia's government claimed it engaged in diplomatic discussions with Nigerian authorities through the Nigerian Council General in Boya. Ewani Roland eventually regained his freedom in March 2025. That is, after 5 months held by his captors. 4 months following his release, the colonial authorities have now transferred him to Ngamo, a location within the Mefo El Akano division of her central region. On the other hand, critics believe the timing of this transfer is a confirmed political move because La Republic of Cameroun is moving towards its presidential election in October 2025. Biya is clearly aiming to position individuals or narratives in ways that serve his electoral agenda. To observers, his transfer to an interior region like Nguamo, away from the more prominent coastal, a major administrative center, is also interpreted as a subtle yet potent message from the regime. For Ambazonians, it reinforces a perception that regardless of their position or ordeal, the colonial administration reserves a specific place for them, often away from central influence, thus indirectly mocking their aspirations for greater inclusion and recognition. The divisional officer's acceptance of this transfer and his continued presence within the administrative structure is seen as allowing himself to be used as an instrument against his own people. Ewani Roland's acceptance of this offer would be considered a betrayal of the trust of the Southern Cameroons, who advocated the most, pouring in sweat and blood to see that he was released alive. On this show, Barrister Mbeseha also tried his best in several ways to advocate, but Barrister Mbeseha was shocked on Thursday to hear that he went back to the colonial government, and Barrister Mbeseha felt that, of course, this is a pure political move. But this is also what Dr. Martin Mungwa has been saying. We have had indications and videos where Ambazonians have been seen trying to find themselves into the same election buhara and how to get themselves involved. In one of the several audios that Dr. Mungwa has been, giving out, there were times he called names, there were times he had proofs, evidence, and showed videos, and there were times we've also shown video. While we all agree, well, I'm sure Barrister Fru agrees as well, but let's just take one audio that confirms what Barrister and Dr. Martin Mungwa has been saying, and then we can merge and marry them together and set agenda and set it clear on what La Republic of Cameroun is trying to do.
Ambazonians at home and abroad. This is the voice of Ambazonia, broadcasting across the homeland and the diaspora. Tonight's special program is titled Democracy by Substitution, the Mask and the Face. And what does this mean? It is a system where elections are not transitions but transactions, where ballots do not choose leaders but recycle legacies, where one ruler steps aside and another already selected steps in. This is the political game being played across Francophone Africa, and Cameroon is next in line. But beware, Ambazonia is the prize. They seek to control through illusion. Across French-controlled Africa, we've seen a disturbing trend. In Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, a true revolutionary, was assassinated, replaced by his French-aligned friend Blaise Compaoré. In Chad, Idriss Déby died on the battlefield, and his son, Mahamat Déby, was installed within hours in violation of the constitution. In Gabon, Ali Bongo, son of Omar Bongo, served France for years until a palace coup substituted him with a new pro-French military leader. And now in Cameroon, Paul Biya, aged 92, is still on the ballot. But what does this mean? Don't be fooled. The plan is simple. Keep Biya on the ticket. Win the election through manipulation. Then, like in 1982 with Ahijo, force Biya to resign and substitute his son Frank Biya as the new face of the old regime. This is not democracy. It is democracy by substitution. The mask is Paul Biya, the face is Frank Biya, the hand behind both is France. So what does this mean for us Ambazonians? It means that the 2025 presidential elections in La République du Cameroun are not just about Cameroon. They are about legitimizing colonial rule in Ambazonia through a changing disguise. We've seen this before. In 1961, they said we were joining a federation. In 1972, they changed it to a unitary state. And in 1984, they erased our name entirely. And now in 2025, they want to install a dynasty to secure French economic and military interests in Boya, Victoria, and Bamenda. Fellow Ambazonians, let us not be deceived by the illusion of political transition in Yaoundé. No matter who wears the mask, Paul or Frank, Ambazonia remains under occupation. We are not voting in their elections. We are not participating in their fraud, and we are not lending legitimacy to their colonial designs. Our destiny is not decided in Etude, but in Ekok, Manthe, Ndian, Bamenda, Ndop, and the great hills of Libelem. Let this message be clear. Ambazonia is not part of the theater, and democracy by substitution is not liberation, it is manipulation. This program is brought to you by the Department of Communications and IT of the Government of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, Ambazonia. We urge all Ambazonians, reject any calls to vote in the 2025 presidential elections. Educate your communities, mobilize civil resistance, and support the October lockdown to deny legitimacy to this French-designed coup. This has been a public broadcast from the Voice of Ambazonia. Tonight's program, Democracy by Substitution, the Mask and the Face. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay free. Good night.
All right. So this is part of the agenda. Barrister Mbeseha had set the agenda on Thursday, where he clearly stated that this was pure political move. And we moved on with that. Barrister Fru.
Yes, it's a political move, but let me start by chastising our brother. After having gone through what he went through, he was kidnapped and tortured. You would imagine that that man would have carefully retired himself, go for early retirement or resign from the service and do something else, because he has come back from death. But no, our people who work for La République du Cameroun have become such donkeys, that they will take you and use you as a political animal, push you into a village where you'll be mocked by villagers. You were kidnapped by your people, tortured by your people. Now you are free. You are here. And you are talking to us. Look, Ambazonians will have themselves to blame. The editorial of Dr. Mongwa is very, very, very excellent. It's to the point. The point is they are trying to use this man politically. They are trying to make us feel that we belong to them. It's a political gimmick. Whether it's beer or frank, it doesn't make any difference. But from what we have seen today, from the list that they have produced for the electorate, it is still going to be Paul. Which Paul? Paul is already incapacitated. So it will be governance by proxy. Ngongo and Madame will continue to do what they've been doing for the last 7 years. Does that concern us? No. But we don't want their chaos to prevail over our territory. So we must do something to ensure that their chaos does not cross. Because these things have a way of crossing. They're going to let them keep their chaos to themselves. They have assassinated more than 70,000 of our people. It is time for them to smell the coffee. They will smell the coffee, and we will be laughing, because we will make sure that we take all the necessary precautions to secularize our territory and let them stay off. Those who want to cross now, who are La Republic citizens in Ambazonia, you better start crossing, because we are not going to accept refugees. We accepted refugees from 1959, 1960s, when the UPC was banned and the Bamlikis were being slaughtered by the French. They came and we accepted them. What did they do? They turned against us. During this so-called war, they call crisis, they were contributing money in their tongtings and giving to Lille Lafrique and Okala Belai to kill us. We have made that mistake before. We will not repeat it. La Republique is in such a place where they will certainly create refugees that will want to cross to our territory, and we will not allow that. Those who are in our territory who will be wanting to become refugees, this is the first time I'm advocating that we don't accept refugees on our territory, because we are at war.
Is that right? Very stuffy. Very stuffy. We'll get there. I like how sometimes you just say it the way you feel. We will get there. But let's hear, Dr. Mungwa, recently, your audio and your latest editorial has been sinking deep. Seems more like it's a rise and a push towards something that is going to yield huge fruits. Now, seeing that an audio that you did 2 weeks ago is coinciding with something that is popping out this week, how does that make you feel? Is it more like solidifying what your thought has been, which has yielded your move into doing this editorial? Or what has the push, or what has initiated this push for these editorials that we've been seeing lately?
Thank you very much. I think many people do not understand that this actually fits within the framework of communal liberalism. It's all about, if you read communal liberalism, or if you've taken time to read how we'll be able to expose the core concept between communal liberalism. Communal liberalism is actually a system of governance that is actually based on the Mein Kampf of Hitler. And in that, in fact, if you look at it from a philosophical point of view, it's actually engineered by the French. It actually has a scientific origin. It is based on the fact that they believe that genuine democracy is Genuine democracy demands what they call a center of gravity. Listen, center of gravity. Now it becomes a mechanical system. So if anything has to be stable, there are two things that are required. At least I'm an engineer. You need, of course, the center of gravity, which is the where the total mass goes through. But for it to be stable, you need a certain plane. And if the center of gravity is within that plane, it will be stable. If it is outside that plane, it's going to fall over. So what is that plane? The plane is the ethnic constitution of that environment. So what has Biya and his communal liberalism said democracy, genuine democracy, demands a center of gravity, and that center of gravity is the presidency, which means that the presidency overrides everything. Even if you are an elected official, the presidency has the right to depose you, unlike in a pure democracy where power is derived from the people. So now what happens in order to make sure that that center of gravity remains within the presidency? What do? They say they take all the 250 ethnic groups, they crush it to be a monolithic body. That is the only way you make it, with that stability will work. Otherwise, when you have a country like Cameroon, where you have English speakers, you have Betis, you have Bolo, you have Northerners, it cannot work because that central core, everything has to reflect what is in that center of gravity, which is the presidency. But of course, Biya knows that he doesn't want a Northerner to be president. He doesn't want somebody from the West to be president. So what do? You create this illusion of a unified ethnic group, where you bring all the 250 ethnic groups and crush it together for it to be one. If you want to look at it from a mechanical system, it's like a car. You know, if a car goes at a certain speed and takes a bend, it will tumble over. But if you crush that car into a ball, what happens? Into a ball, it will roll over in different direction and no problem will happen, because it's now all homogeneous, it's all monolithic, and it's all round. But at the core of it is the presidency, and around it, it is ethnic, his own ethnic groups. And then you start having different radii of different ethnic groups. That's what Biya wants to create in Cameroon. So in order to achieve that, you need people who agree with that ideology, which is the Beti Bulu hegemony. And that's why you have Francophones who grew up in Anglophone areas. Now they become our substitutes. So they agree with it. They represent us because they know that we can accept it. And then those within the Bamileke group, they will bring those that have been brought over so that he deals with them. So he always wants to look for leaders from all these other places who believe in that central agenda, which is the Bulu Beti hegemony. And from there, you have this call called a singer. A singer, that's the call that holds everything together. That's where everything is controlled. And that is a central core where Biya belongs. So everything has to be crushed. Everything must be controlled by that hegemony. And if he does that, he believes that that's the only way we can have genuine democracy. But there is a big lie behind it. It means that from the presidency, he's going to nominate governors. They will be like proconsuls. And these governors are far more powerful than elected mayors. That's why you have this idea of a delegate so popular in La République. Minister delegate, what does it mean? You have simply been delegated the powers to perform certain duties. If they're not happy with your performance, they will withdraw that power from you. So, Minister Delegate of National Defense, it means that the true Minister of National Defense, who is the President, Minister Delegate of the Economy, means that the true Minister of the Economy, who is the President. You have government delegates, means that who is the true delegate is the governor. It's not the mayor. So they have this double layer of governance where those who are elected are under those who are appointed. You have to listen to this. It's a very dangerous philosophy. And that's why you have delegates all over the place. Government delegate, minister delegate at the presidency, minister delegate in charge of this, minister delegate in charge of education, minister. So one person has complete authority over everybody. And if you are in a country where they've never had a genuine election since 1960, what does that mean? So that person at the top is definitely obeying somebody else, the French. And that's why Biya was in the secret service of the French. So he's being controlled from that top. And that's why they want to create this pseudo-dynasty in some sort of aristocratic democracy. But in that case, you are looking for people who are extremely intelligent that can rule the masses. But in this case, they are not necessarily intelligent. They are all appointed. They appoint the government delegate. They appoint the minister delegate. They appoint the governor. They appoint everybody else. And you realize that in that setup, when they talk about decentralization, it's a mockery because everything must be approved by those non-elected officials. Okay, so they talk about the special status. Only 3% of the national budget is actually decided by all the councils in La Republique. 3%. 95% comes from where? The presidency. You can talk about your budget, but if that budget doesn't appear on the side of presidency, nobody's going to fund it. And you call that special status? It is an insult. So every position is duplicated at the presidency. They can override parliamentary groups. These are people who've been elected. So there is no direct suffrage. Impossible in communal liberalism. And that's why we've been telling people that if you vote for BIA, you are voting for communal liberalism and you're voting for your rights to be taken away. And there's no way we can vote to become slaves.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mungwa. Barrister, so you can see that you saw ahead. You saw ahead on Thursday when you did clearly state that you were shocked about the move of Ewane Roland. We didn't have enough time. Would you want to say something in a few minutes?
Yes, let me just add this. I had described, in talking about Ewane, I had said that a good number of Ambazonians in positions of power have become castrates. Who is a castrate? A castrate is the normal man, a male, who, given 100 pretty girls, he will do nothing. He will just lie in the banana hole. So these people have become castrates. Ewane being one of them. He has political power. He was given administrative power. And he has gone through what he had gone through. And I said here, when he came out, the first thing he did was to borrow money and give 50,000 francs in Kopé Maneguba to urge President Paul Biya to become president once more. His name is on the list there. But that's not even the most important thing. The most important thing is that they were adopted, two of them. He enjoyed the presidential decree. He was chef d'etat. As of now, when they cannot even tell where the guy who went with him, who was adopted with him, is. Rather than give 50,000 francs to Paul Biya's campaign, he would have given that even 25,000 to the family of that poor young man who was picked in the street to help them in a dabato. He has completely forgotten about him. If you ask him where he is, he doesn't know. Ask him where the family is, he has no idea. Is this news? No. Ambazonians who got into this system have become castrates. I insist, castrates. And I give you another example. We all remember Madame Mundi. Madame Mundi, Regina, is an appointed senator by Paul Biya, but she lives in Bamenda. She has a Prado, a big car, where she recruits the son of a poor young man in Bamenda there and makes that guy her driver. They adopt two of them and take them to wherever. She's flown back in a helicopter. She does all what she knows about the poor boy, the driver in the street that he picked in Bamenda town, is that he died and that his wife has since remarried. That's Madame Mundi, who is old enough to be a great-grandmother. But that's not all. Before becoming the senator, she retired as a cultural advisor in the governor's office. She understands Bamenda culture. And all what she can think about that young man who was driving for her, going down the car and buying plantain cocoyams on the road, is that he died and he has made. He cannot ask where his family is. And so they are complete castrates of anything you can imagine. And so that is what it is. We're unfortunate to be where we are. But again, fast forward, talk about the elections in Cameroon. That is none of our business. We have told them that we are not taking part because participation in the elections is submission, not resistance. That's all. Because all we wait from them is that come October, November, when somebody sits in the office there, we don't care how that person got there, appointed by coup d'etat or any form or shape, that leader will be forced to negotiate with us. And this is in the history of Ambazonia. It was back in 1961, when Foncha was leading delegations to Fumban, when Foncha was meeting with Ahijo. Foncha was a duly elected official. He had defeated Ndele in a fair, free elections. But Foncha was meeting with Ahijo, who had never been elected anywhere. Ahijo had never been elected anywhere, but he posed as the president of Cameroon. In that, his unelected capacity, he signed 1st September the so-called federal constitution. And so we don't care how they get their leaders. We care what their leaders bring to the table. Come October, November, they will have to bring their leaders to the table, elected, chosen, or appointed to negotiate the terms of the end to this nonsense. That's the only information we have for them. We don't take part in their disagreements. We only act as observers. And as they put somebody there, my only role will be to size that person. If that person can give an argument to counter what we say, to justify why we're not supposed to belong. That's all. That's all our concern. Because we're not taking part in the elections. If the elections were not fair, we would not have been part of it. If they were fair, we're not part of it. And so let them prepare whoever they want. Let it be Madame Chantal Biya. Let it be Brenda Biya. Let it be anybody in that camp to meet us and discuss the terms of separation. That's all what interests us in this struggle. We're unfortunate to have them as our neighbors. But there's nothing we can do. We cannot change the geography of the world. They are part and parcel of our life because they are our neighbors. But we have to do everything to prevent the stench that comes out of the neighbor's house from coming to infect our own children in our own house. And so that is how it is. Mr. Fru had anything in his life. If he didn't want to retire, he deserves some rest. Are those comfortable air-conditioned offices in governor's office, in ministry in Yaoundé? Could he not sit on one of those things in compensation for his suffering in Idabatu? Rather than do him that small comfort, he's been sent to Ngumo. Ngumo is not even off to Idabatu. Somewhere near Mr. Paul Biya's, in the Mr. Paul Biya's region there. It's a shame. And so again, my answer is Ambazonians beware, Ambazonians remain ourselves. Who stay in that kingdom.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Fru. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. And these are those points that will draw the curtains from here. Coming up next would be straight to the draft, which want to take the Ngokentuja editorial, and Smart will be doing that for us.
Anago. Let me see you go. Yes. Tenento. Ama. Shake 'em. Balance 'em. Tona. Ama. Yes. Come on. Tuka. Balance 'em.
Zungwalele. Yeah. saka ye saka ye saka ye saka saka ye saka saka ye saka ye saka ye saka.
Sakambuka,
Saka,
sakambuka,
Saka,
sakambuka,
Saka,
saka ye,
sakamuka, saka ye, sakamuka,
saka,
saka ye, sakamuka, saka ye, sakamuka, saka ye, sakamuka. Walele, zungwalele, walele, zungwalele, walele, zungwalele, walele, zungwalele, walele, zungwalele, walele, zungwalele. Yeah.
sakambuka,
Saka,
sakambuka,
saka, sakamuka.
This is Nikia 2018 edition.
Love one another wherever you may be all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land. Together we will stand. Together we will stand. United we will fall. Together we will stand.
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Ngokentuja.
Love one another wherever you may be all over the world.
Well, Ngokentuja County will take a look at the 4 segments about Ngokentuja County, its historicity, and how it's important to the Ambazonian struggle. Ngokentuja County is more than a highland basin nestled in the savanna stretch of the southern Cameroun. It is a living narrative of endurance, identity, and resistance. Now, from its ancient
Fondums echoing with ancestral drums to the rice fields of Bamunka and the rugged resolve of warriors like General Sagon and Major General Onlibro, Ngokentuja stands as a metaphor for Ambazonia itself. Bruised but unbeaten, invaded yet unconquered. Well, this editorial, we're going to explore Ngokentuja's past and present through 4 lenses: historicity and cultural identity, natural and economic endowment, strategic military significance, and of course, its present-day impact in the Ambazonian struggle. Now we see that Ngokentuja is a spiritual county built on the backs of 13 ancient fondums, each bearing the sacred prefix Ba, which is a remnant of German colonial classification, which meant the people of. But long before colonialism, these were independent cultural civilizations: Bamunka, Babesi, Bambalang, Babungo, and others, each with unique languages, customs, and governing systems rooted in the Fon institution. Every village in Ngokentuja is a sovereign entity guided by a Fon, supported by quarterheads and traditional councils. Now, these aren't merely cultural decorations. They are custodians of indigenous governance, sacred law, land stewardship, and wartime mobilization. Palaces such as the Babungo Royal Court and Museum are historical vaults, preserving weapons, artifacts, and oral histories of resistance dating back to colonial incursions. The Ngumba, Nwose, and various sacred societies remain instruments of justice, initiation, and decision-making. They regulate social behavior and spiritual allegiance in ways that predate and outperform any colonial or post-colonial administrative system. This cultural governance has kept Ngokentuja County intact despite the chaos imposed by external regimes. Ngokentuja is not only the gateway to the Ring Road, it is a gateway to Ambazonian self-reliance. Stretching across plains and highlands, the county boasts fertile soil and a unique microclimate that supports a range of food productions: rice from Bamunka, cassava from Babawan, groundnuts from Bambalang, and a range of vegetables and tubers that feed not just in Ngokentuja County, but neighboring counties as well. Its agricultural ecosystem is anchored by the Upper Non-Valley Development Authority and only state agro-development corporation in the entire grass fields of southern Cameroun, even though it is still unfortunately managed under the colonial administration in Yaoundé. Beyond food, we see the county is an artisanal marvel. Babesing's Pressport Handicraft Center is a beacon of indigenous industry, showcasing the complete cycle of clay extraction, molding, and traditional firing. Babungo and Babesing artisans continue to produce wood and ironwork using traditional methods handed down over centuries. Now, these are not merely souvenirs. They are symbols of a self-sustaining people. And touristically, Lake Bambalang, the Ngokentuja Mountain, and the festivals of Bamunka and Babesi draw cultural pilgrims from far and near. Visitors don't just see, they experience Ambazonian soul through storytelling, masquerades, traditional beer sharing, and sacred ceremonies. Ngokentuja in the fire and front lines of liberation. We see that the county Ngokentuja is not just a cultural powerhouse, it is a military corridor, a natural fortress that links Mbeseha, Buyi, and Boyo counties. Its elevation, mountainous ring roads, and central plains make it both a tactical staging ground and a refuge for resistance fighters. The rise of the Amazonian State Army in Ngokentuja County has redefined the county's identity, not just as a home of tradition, but as a heart of rebellion. The memories of late General Sagon still command reverence. He was more than a military tactician. He was a community builder who trained a moral raiser and strategic genius who trained dozens of fighters and held the line against Cameroon's genocidal army. His death elevated him to martyrdom, and his legacy now fuels the doctrine of self-defense across Ambazonia. Now, commanders like Major General Onlibro have picked up the torch. His unrelenting crackdown
on collaborators and fake liberators such as the so-called unity warriors has resorted and restored the moral clarity of the war efforts in Ngokentuja County. The betrayal that led to No PT's tragic fall serves as a bloody reminder that unity without truth is an invitation to sabotage. Well, despite being outgunned, Ngokentuja's Ambazonian State Army continued to fight with resourcefulness, hiding in mountains, maneuvering through ring roads, and leveraging their ancestral knowledge of terrain. The fight in Ngokentuja is not only about bullets, it is about belief, the belief that Ambazonia will rise and its mountain peoples will not be left behind. Well, no liberation war can succeed without the cultural, the psychological, and social strength of its people. And in Ngokentuja County, we see resistance is not just military. It is festive, spiritual, and everyday reality. Even in the face of war, the annual festivals of Bamunka, Bamising, Babungo, and Babawan continue to thrive as rituals of resilience. These aren't just dances. They are ancestral roll calls where the spirits of the land are summoned to be a witness to the struggle. The Mbeseha festival in Babawan and cultural weeks across other villages have remained platforms to celebrate heritage, educate youth, and renew collective commitments to the cause. The festivals feature masquerades, jujus, fire and snake dances, and processions that invoke the sacred guardians of the land. They are public affirmations that culture cannot be colonized. Even village markets with their 8-day cycles serve as microcosms of community resistance, where palm wine replaces imported beer and traditional meals like achu, water fufu, and grilled meat become acts of cultural pride. Though the war has slowed development, the spiritual cultural ecosystem of Ngokentuja County is not broken. If anything, it is now more politically conscious, more aware that freedom means not only the absence of oppression, but the full expression of ancestral pride. Ngokentuja County is Ambazonia in microcosm, a blend of historical depth, cultural vibrance, geographical might, and revolutionary fire. From the farms of Bamunka to the ancestral palaces of Babungo, from the rise of General Sagon to the fire dances of Bamising, the county tells a story that no bullet can erase. This is not just a county, it is a cathedral of memory, a battlefield of hope, and a cultural summit where the vision of free Ambazonia is not a distant dream, but a felt reality. While Ngokentuja County is rising, and with her, Ambazonia shall stand tall, unbent, unbroken, and undivided.
Love one another wherever you may be, all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land. Together we will stand. Together we will stand. United we will fall. Together we will stand.
We are enough. So let's draft, and draft. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It's time for Ngokentuja.
Love one another wherever you may be, all over the world. Love conquers all the same.
The war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices.
We are one. We are one. Unite for a better development in our land.